Traditionally, what we see a lot of now on both sides when it comes to OCF 18 as well as IEs are OT in-home assessments that are frankly largely subjectively based, where the claimant is asked to almost demonstrate nothing functionally or very minimal functionally. And the requirement certainly in CAT is exactly the opposite to that, where we need to maximize the observation of the client doing various functional tasks throughout the home and arguably even into the community. Okay, so in brief, one of the premises that we started with as CAT DAX, thank you, Darren, is that we went to the opposite extreme to really measure absolutely everything. Okay, so sometimes there would be 2-day assessments, and we would even observe the individual directly in the community, in shops, in the bank. We'd observe them taking public transportation, navigating the community. That became problematic after the demise of the DAX because with the pressures imposed by the now Wild West situation, insurers being able to refer to anyone, and therefore market forces kicked in and basically work oftentimes went to the lowest priced facility. And so as a result, our more comprehensive assessments have definitely shrunken to 1 day. We've not shrunken them any less than a full day OT assessment. However, we did learn a specific lesson that we should have been aware of probably as we were designing this system. And that came in the context of a specific case, the McMichael case, in which basically it was recognized by the arbitrator, actually by the judge in this case, that we did not fully account for the clinical records of the OT and the psychologist involved. So we overly assessed and weren't mindful enough of kind of the day-to-day clinical findings on file. So we changed our protocol so that now we always also include that component. As well, we also expanded our significant other interview on that basis. So before, typically the psychologist, neuropsychologist that would do the significant other interview, now the OTs do it, and they do even a more elaborate one compared to what they would be doing before, even if they had been doing something before. Okay. So again, the importance of the hybrid nature of both observing a person in situ, but also being able to recognize that the main weaknesses of our standardized testing is the inability to properly assess the executive capacity in particular. As folks know, that if you are doing standardized testing in a standardized manner, it gives very little leeway for the client to be involved in initiating and integrating from one task to the next task. And that's the pieces that we can pick up much more readily from clinical progress reports, from OTs, neuropsychologists, others, potentially rehab support workers, as well as from the significant other. Okay. We do a situational work assessment more as a component of the mental behavioral aspect, and oftentimes still within that situational work assessment because that's something that occurs in clinic. Our clinic, we happen to have quick access to a very large convenience store next to us and a couple of other shops, so we can even take half an hour and have the client observed in those kinds of settings. Arguably, it's not the same as their home setting, but at least it's something that we can extend in terms of our assessment protocol. Okay, and again, the independent functioning aspect is something that we have evolved to include on a much more rigorous basis. Okay. And those components of the OT analysis, in-home assessment, relate both to the GOS as well as the mental behavioral sphere. We basically do the very same OT assessment to collect the data for both. However, the way that data is eventually analyzed and the way it's reported is different relative to the criteria.